Prince Leopold Alexander of Illyria, better known as Leo to his close friends, was tired of the expectations that came with his title. The endless formalities, political meetings, and obligations weighed heavily on him. As the heir to the throne, his every move was scrutinized, and he yearned for an escape. Just one night where he could be himself without the pressures of being royalty. Disguising himself in casual clothes, Leo slipped away from the royal palace one evening, determined to experience a taste of normalcy. He wandered through the bustling streets of the capital city, blending in with the crowd for the first time in his life. His destination? A small, cozy bistro known as the Silver Moon, where the soft glow of fairy lights and the smell of freshly baked bread lured him in. Ella Montgomery had been working at the Silver Moon for 2 years. With her bright eyes and warm smile, she had a way of making people feel welcome. Though she dreamed of traveling the world and attending college, her immediate focus was paying the bills and keeping her head above water. For now, the bistro was her second home, and its patrons were her extended family. As Leo took a seat at a corner table, Ella approached him with her usual cheery demeanor, unaware that the man in front of her was royalty. "What can I get you tonight?" she asked, offering him a friendly smile. Leo found himself drawn to her kindness and simplicity. Used to being surrounded by people who knew his status, Ella's lack of recognition was refreshing. For the first time in a long while, Leo felt free. "Just a coffee, please," Leo replied, his voice steady. He hesitated for a moment, then added with a small grin, "And maybe a slice of whatever you recommend." Ella smiled, scribbling his order. "You're in luck. The lemon tart is the best thing on the menu." Leo watched her walk away, a feeling of peace settling over him. He had come here seeking anonymity, and in Ella's presence, he found exactly that. Little did they know, this simple meeting would change both of their lives forever. Over the next few weeks, Leo returned to the Silver Moon regularly. He enjoyed the comfort of the bistro, but more than that, he enjoyed Ella's company. Their conversations grew longer with each visit, evolving from casual banter to more meaningful exchanges about life, dreams, and aspirations. Ella had no idea she was speaking to the future king of Illyria, and Leo reveled in the fact that she saw him as just Leo, not Prince Leopold. Ella, in turn, found herself looking forward to Leo's visits. He was different from the other customers, more attentive, more interested in her as a person. She found herself sharing her dreams with him, telling him how she longed to travel, to attend university, and to find her place in the world. Leo listened intently, offering thoughtful responses without the arrogance she had come to expect from wealthy men. One evening, as the bistro was closing and they were the last two left, Leo offered to walk Ella home. The streets were quiet as they strolled side by side, the city lights flickering in the distance. Ella couldn't help but notice how natural their companionship felt, as if they'd known each other for years. "So, Leo," Ella began, glancing up at him, "you've been coming here for weeks, but you're still a bit of a mystery. What exactly do you do?" Leo hesitated for a moment, torn between wanting to be honest with her and wanting to keep his identity a secret just a little longer. "I work in diplomacy," he said cautiously. It wasn't a lie, but it wasn't the full truth either. Ella nodded, satisfied with his answer. "That explains why you always seem so well-traveled. I bet you've seen the world." Leo smiled, though guilt tugged at him. "I've been lucky enough to travel quite a bit." As they reached Ella's apartment building, she turned to him with a soft smile. "Thanks for walking me home, Leo. You're different from anyone I've ever met." Leo's heart swelled at her words, but he knew that his secret could threaten everything they had built. Still, for now, he was content to bask in her warmth, even if it was only for a little while longer. Things continued to blossom between them, but as their connection deepened, so did Leo's anxiety. He knew that his true identity would have to come out eventually, but he couldn't bear the thought of Ella's reaction. How would she feel knowing that he had been lying to her? Leo's worst fear came true one fateful morning when a tabloid photograph of him leaving the Silver Moon surfaced, accompanied by a headline that read, "Prince Leopold spotted at local bistro, mystery woman by his side." Ella was at home when she saw the article. She froze, her mind racing as the realization hit her like a freight train. The man she had been growing closer to wasn't just any ordinary man. He was a royal prince. She felt a mix of shock, betrayal, and disbelief. How could Leo have kept this from her? Later that evening, when Leo arrived at the bistro to see her, Ella didn't even give him the chance to sit down. "Is it true?" she asked, her voice trembling with a mixture of hurt and anger. "Are you really Prince Leopold?" Leo's heart sank. He had dreaded this moment, but there was no way around it now. "Yes," he admitted softly. "I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. I wanted to, but I was afraid. Afraid that things would change between us." Ella shook her head, her emotions swirling. "Change? You lied to me, Leo. Or should I say, Prince Leopold. How could you keep something like this from me?" Leo stepped closer, his eyes pleading. "Ella, I didn't want to lie to you. I just didn't want my title to get in the way of what we have. With you, I felt like I could be myself. I'm still the same person you've gotten to know, I swear." Ella was torn. Part of her wanted to believe him, to forgive him, but another part of her felt betrayed. "I need some time to think," she whispered, her voice breaking. Leo nodded, his heart heavy. "I understand, but please know that everything I feel for you is real." Days passed, and though Ella hadn't fully cut Leo out of her life, things between them were strained. She avoided the bistro when she knew he would be there, and when they did meet, the tension was palpable. Leo was determined to make things right, but he knew that winning back Ella's trust wouldn't be easy. Meanwhile, the media frenzy surrounding their relationship grew worse. Photographers camped outside the bistro, eager to catch a glimpse of the prince's mysterious love interest. Ella found herself hounded by the press, her once peaceful life turned upside down by the constant attention. Leo, too, faced pressure from his family. His father, King Frederick, had made it clear that a relationship with a commoner was unacceptable. The royal family had traditions to uphold, and they expected Leo to marry someone of noble blood. One evening, after weeks of silence, Leo showed up at Ella's apartment. He looked tired, his usual confidence replaced with vulnerability. "Ella, I know I've made mistakes, but I love you. I'll fight for us, no matter what." Ella's heart softened at his words, but the doubt lingered. "Leo, your family, your responsibilities. How could someone like me fit into your world?" Leo took her hand, his gaze unwavering. "We'll figure it out. I don't care what anyone else thinks. I love you, and I'm willing to stand against the world if it means being with you." Leo's declaration of love was tested when he finally brought Ella to meet his parents, King Frederick and Queen Isabella. It was a meeting fraught with tension. The king was firm in his disapproval, stating that a relationship with a commoner would bring scandal to the royal family and destabilize their political alliances. "Leo, you know what's expected of you," King Frederick said, his voice cold. "This relationship cannot continue." Ella felt small under the king's intense gaze, but she stood her ground, refusing to let fear dictate her actions. She loved Leo, and she wouldn't let his family's disapproval come between them. Queen Isabella, however, was more compassionate. She saw the love between Leo and Ella, and though she knew the challenges they would face, she also understood that love was not something to be dismissed lightly. "Leo," the queen said softly, "if you truly love her, then you must be prepared to fight for her. But know that this will not be easy." Leo met his mother's eyes, gratitude flooding his heart. "I am ready to fight for her." In the months that followed, Leo and Ella's relationship faced countless obstacles. The press hounded them at every turn, and the royal family continued to pressure Leo to end things. But through it all, Leo and Ella remained steadfast in their love for each other. They weathered the storm together, their bond only growing stronger. Eventually, the royal family, seeing Leo's unwavering commitment, began to soften. Though it wasn't easy, they came to accept that love was more important than tradition. In a private ceremony, far from the prying eyes of the press, Leo and Ella exchanged vows, promising to stand by each other no matter what. After the private ceremony, Leo and Ella were closer than ever, but the battle for their future had just begun. King Frederick was not yet convinced, and despite Queen Isabella's quiet support, the royal family remained divided over the relationship. Though Leo had married Ella in secret, they both knew the road ahead would be filled with difficulties, especially since the Illyrian royal court had yet to officially recognize their union. King Frederick issued an ultimatum. If Leo insisted on continuing his relationship with Ella, he would risk losing his place as heir to the throne. The idea of losing the crown, a role he had been groomed for his entire life, hung heavily over Leo, but he stood firm. His love for Ella was stronger than any crown or title. Ella, however, was struggling. She couldn't help but feel guilty, knowing that Leo was caught between his family's expectations and his love for her. "I don't want you to lose everything because of me, Leo," she said one evening, tears glistening in her eyes. "You've worked your whole life for this. Maybe it's better if I walk away." But Leo was having none of it. "No," he said firmly, taking her hands in his. "You are my everything, Ella. Without you, none of this matters. I'll fight for you, and I'll fight for us, no matter what the cost." Ella's heart swelled with emotion, but deep down, she feared the day would come when Leo would have to choose between the life he was born into and the love they had built together. While the public was still unaware of their secret marriage, rumors swirled around the palace. The royal staff whispered behind closed doors about the mysterious commoner who had captured the prince's heart. Leo's cousins and distant relatives eyed Ella with suspicion whenever she was present at the palace, and there were always lingering glances from courtiers when she attended royal functions at Leo's side. Yet, amidst the tension, Ella had an unlikely ally in Queen Isabella. The queen had once been a young woman in love herself, and though she had been born into nobility, she understood the complexities of royal life. Isabella quietly took Ella under her wing, offering her guidance on how to navigate the intricacies of court life. One afternoon, while sitting in the queen's private garden, Isabella spoke candidly with Ella. "I see how much you love my son, and I see how much he loves you," she said, her voice warm yet serious. "But being part of this family comes with great responsibilities, Ella. You will face scrutiny, and there will be people who doubt you. Are you truly prepared for that?" Ella looked down at her hands, her heart heavy with the weight of the queen's words. "I love Leo," she said quietly, "but sometimes I wonder if love is enough." "His father," she hesitated, unsure of how to express the fear that had been gnawing at her. "The king has his concerns," Isabella acknowledged, "but I've known Frederick for a long time. He's a stubborn man, but his heart is in the right place. He wants what's best for Leo and for the country. If you can show him that you're committed to this life and to supporting Leo, I believe he will come around." Ella nodded, her resolve hardening. She was willing to fight for Leo, and if winning over the king was what it took, she would do everything in her power to prove herself. Leo and Ella knew that they couldn't hide their relationship forever. The press had already grown suspicious of Leo's constant absences from royal events, and Ella's presence at the palace had sparked even more rumors. It was only a matter of time before the world learned the truth. Leo decided that the best way forward was to be honest with the public. He arranged for a televised interview, one that would not only reveal his relationship with Ella but also address the future of the monarchy. The night before the interview, Leo and Ella sat together in their shared apartment, the weight of the moment pressing down on them. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Ella asked, her voice trembling with uncertainty. "Once the world knows, there's no going back." Leo looked at her, his eyes filled with determination. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life. We've been living in the shadows for too long, Ella. It's time the world knows the truth, and it's time my father accepts it." The next day, the interview aired across every major network in Illyria. Leo sat in front of the cameras, Ella by his side, and spoke candidly about their relationship. He explained how they had met, how their love had grown, and how they had secretly married to avoid the public scrutiny that came with his royal status. "I know that many of you will question this decision," Leo said, addressing the viewers directly, "but I love Ella with all my heart, and she is the woman I want by my side, not just as my wife, but as my partner in everything. I hope that my family, and the people of Illyria will support us as we move forward together. The interview was met with mixed reactions. Some praised Leo for his honesty and admired his willingness to stand up for love, while others criticized him for breaking tradition. The royal family, meanwhile, was furious that Leo had made such a public declaration without their approval. The aftermath of the interview sent shockwaves through the palace. King Frederick summoned Leo to his office, where the tension was palpable. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" the king asked, his voice simmering with anger. "You've defied centuries of tradition. The monarchy has always been about duty, Leo, not personal desires." Leo stood tall, refusing to be intimidated. "And what good is duty if it costs me the person I love? Ella makes me a better man, and she will make a great partner in this life. I refuse to live a lie just to satisfy the expectations of people who don't even know me." Frederick's gaze softened slightly, but his expression remained stern. "This isn't just about you, Leo. This is about the future of our family, our country." Leo met his father's gaze head-on. "I understand that, father, but I believe the people will support us if they see that I'm acting out of love and authenticity. Times are changing. The monarchy must change with it." There was a long, tense silence before King Frederick finally spoke. "Very well," he said slowly. "You've made your choice, but you'll have to prove to me, and to the world, that Ella is capable of standing by your side as the future queen." Leo's heart swelled with relief. It wasn't a full acceptance, but it was a step in the right direction. In the months that followed, Leo and Ella worked tirelessly to win over both the royal family and the public. Ella threw herself into royal duties, learning everything she could about court life, political affairs, and the charity work that came with being part of the royal family. She accompanied Leo to events, always poised and gracious, determined to prove that she was worthy of her role. Slowly but surely, Ella began to win over the hearts of the Illyrian people. Though there were still those who opposed their union, many were charmed by her humility and dedication. She wasn't like the other royals. They could see that. She was one of them, a commoner who had fallen in love with a prince, and they admired her for her courage. Queen Isabella was Ella's greatest supporter, often stepping in to help smooth over tense moments with the king. "You're doing wonderfully," she reassured Ella after a particularly difficult event. "The people see your heart, and so will Frederick. Just give him time." Meanwhile, Leo continued to stand by Ella, fiercely protective of their love. He made it clear to anyone who questioned their relationship that Ella was his future, and that no amount of tradition would stand in the way of their happiness. It took nearly a year of hard work, but eventually, even King Frederick began to soften. He saw how happy Leo was with Ella, and how determined she was to fulfill her role. The king, who had once been so adamant that a commoner could never fit into royal life, began to see things differently. Perhaps Leo had been right. Perhaps love was more important than tradition. One evening, during a private family dinner, King Frederick finally addressed the issue that had been hanging over them for so long. "Leo," he said, his voice carrying a weight of finality, "I've watched you and Ella closely this past year. I see how committed you are to each other, and how much you've grown. I still have my reservations, but I can't deny that she's earned her place in this family." Leo's heart skipped a beat, but he remained calm. "Thank you, Father. That means more to us than you know." Frederick looked at Ella, who had been silently listening, her hands folded in her lap. "Ella," he said, his tone softening, "you've shown strength and grace in the face of great challenges. Welcome to the family." Ella's eyes filled with tears as she smiled, unable to find the words to express her gratitude. This was the moment she had been waiting for, the moment when she knew that, despite everything, she and Leo would be able to build their life together with the support of the royal family. With the king's blessing, Leo and Ella's relationship was finally accepted by both the royal family and the public. Their love story, which had begun in the quiet simplicity of a small bistro, had blossomed into a union that defied the odds. Leo and Ella's wedding was a grand affair, held in the royal chapel and attended by dignitaries from across the world. Ella walked down the aisle in a gown fit for a queen, her heart swelling with joy as she met Leo's gaze at the altar. As they exchanged vows, they both knew that their journey had only just begun. In the years that followed, Leo and Ella ruled side by side, their love a shining example of the power of authenticity and courage. They proved that true love could overcome even the greatest of obstacles, and that sometimes the most extraordinary stories begin in the most ordinary places. And so, their love story became legend, inspiring generations to come. The prince and the waitress, who had once been worlds apart, had found their way to each other, and, together, they built a life filled with love, laughter, and the promise of forever. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the story. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more delightful stories.